You are live. Okay, guys, it's been a while since I've been on with Insight with Ivanna. I have been working on some really fun projects. However, I've been wanting to do an interview with my good friend Dawn. I can see you. And she's requesting. Live Instagram live thing figured out. However, yes.
Hello.
I figured it out.
Yay.
Hello.
Hi. I selfishly just want to catch up right now.
I know. That's why I was like, you know what? Let's just go live now and keep it so informal because, I feel like you and I operate better that way.
Yes. And I feel like I've been telling a bunch of my friends today, I'm like, come to our live. My friend's a big deal. She lives in LA. She styles celebrities. And I know we're on your page right now, but I feel like you should introduce who you are and what you do to any of my followers that are on
Yeah,
here right now.
100%. I can definitely do that. I think I was going to go on my personal account, but I was like, no, I want to keep it separate because I want, our conversation to be pretty vulnerable. And even though I'm still Ivanna the stylist, I just want to keep these conversations really raw and vulnerable. But for your followers that don't know who I am Ivanna. I'm from Australia. I met Dawn at in a mastermind, in a leadership mastermind, and then we did a couple of retreats together, and we basically hit it off the moment that we met.
In the airport.
In the airport, literally started singing Backstreet Boys immediately, which is why I had to put the theme song on that for the story.
I love that.
But first and foremost, I moved to LA 2.5 years ago to pursue my big dream to be a celebrity stylist. I've been a stylist for 15 years. I love transforming people's confidence through styling. I love hosting events, hosting style sessions. I love speaking, interviewing people. There's a side to me that really connects deeply when it comes to human behavior and why people do what they do. But as a creative, as a visionary, as an undiagnosed ADHD person, fashion and style is what I love doing. And so yeah, the Insight with Ivanna is just a way for me to express and for people to put a face and an image to some sort of authenticity that I really want to put out there. Which is why I wanted to have the conversation with Dawn, because you and I have those hard-ass, raw, vulnerable conversations, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as women, and we just never sugarcoat it. It's
no. And we can go from goofy and silly to deep and really we can interchange it so quickly, which I think is the best friendships.
Yeah, and we can just pick
do
up where we
that.
left off. We don't have to speak to each other every single day. It's just very
No.
transparent, real, vulnerable conversations. So welcome to Insight with Ivanna.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. So one thing that I want to ask, what is alive for you in this moment? I know your journey since I've met you nearly more than a year ago, but right now, what is alive?
Alive. I was like, what was the word? I thought you said, what is a lie? And I was like, alive?
I mean, we could go down that path now.
What is alive in my life? You know what? I feel my story more than I put on Instagram. But I would say my life behind the scenes is alive and thriving and healthy for the first time ever in my life. And I've always said I used to always tell people they'd applaud me on building the business I'd built. And I was like, yeah, I'm really good at taking risks and succeeding in business, but my personal relationships have always been a struggle. And I'm finally really in a healthy relationship now. And communication's really and I say healthy, not meaning there aren't bumps and things that happen, but the way we deal with it and the way we communicate it and being in this healthy place personally is such a foreign thing, which then feels scary because it's very vulnerable, but also like everything that I've ever hoped for. So that's what's alive right now.
I love it. The vulnerable part of it, like you're not familiar with the healthy side of it, right? Like where
The peaceful side of it. That's like the weirdest thing is like I'm so used to the like chaos and not always negative, but you know, like the excitement and the like high highs and then the low lows where it's just like peaceful and it's like, wait, what?
it's like almost, I wouldn't say, I mean, I'm in this container right now, and she literally would like refer to what you're talking about as boring, because like
Mm-hmm.
myself, like you, I'm super addicted to chaos and drama. Well, I have been. And what I
Mm-hmm.
realized doing this program that I'm in currently, it's called Higher Love. And
Bring
someone that
me
I'm
the
dating at the moment,
higher love.
yeah,
Sorry.
literally. Someone that I'm dating at the moment is also like super healthy and normal and not chaotic and not like the unfamiliar of like emotionally unavailable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not used to this, and it's like trying to seek out that drama and chaos because that's what you've grown up in, and that's what's familiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I mean, like 10 years ago, Dawn, 5 years ago, Dawn, even 2 years ago, Dawn would have been like, nope. Like this clearly, like where's the I don't want to say like there isn't sparks, but you know what I mean? It's like that different, like the peaceful excitement versus the like I remember reading like it was like a post on Instagram here or something where it's like that like butterflies feeling when you're like first with someone isn't butterflies, it's anxiety. And this was the first time that I didn't have the like fireworks of everything, but like that peacefulness, and then going like, oh shit, this scares me because like what it like I wanted something different, but I've only ever experienced what I've experienced, and now I'm experiencing something different. How do you trust something different when it's the unknown?
It's like a whole lifetime of unconditioning.
Yeah. But also I like see myself and I almost like sometimes want to shame myself because I've always very much been in control and made sure I'm in control to the point of being very demeaning, but also like, I don't even know if that's the right word, but like in my masculine, we'll say, if we're going to use that language. I was trying to avoid the masculine feminine language, but like very much like in control, like making the decisions, not letting my guard down, and like wanting someone to lead me, wanting to trust, but not allowing anyone to lead or for myself to trust. And I see myself being like much more feminine and like the little girl version of me. And there's a part of me that was like, ew, right? Like, because I think because like I grew up with older brothers and like wanted to be accepted by them, and I wanted my dad to see me, and so I like learned how to be more like the boys, like my brothers, to be seen. And so
Mm.
thinking I had to be more masculine in order to be acceptable. And then now it's like returning back to like little Dawn and letting her thrive. And I think there's like times where I like almost want to puke a little because I'm like, oh, that's so like girly. But then I'm like, oh, it's like the part of me that's like hasn't been able to live for so long.
I think that's why you and I are
Julie, sorry.
paths. Yeah, no, I think that's why we've like cross paths and are in each other's lives, because like I'm literally a mirror of you. And in terms of like, I know that masculine feminine word gets thrown around a lot, but I've operated in my masculine, and like I would say this is probably the first time in my life that I'm like learning to be my feminine, and it feels so weird, but all I want to do is remain that way of being. And I'm like, I don't want to hustle and push and like burn myself out like I have my whole entire career, right? So it's like I'm trying to adjust to this like new way of operating, relationship wise, career wise. And I just want to be soft and feminine. I don't want to be like, oh, boss bitch. Yeah, like I've got it all figured out on my own. Like I want someone to take the lead.
Yeah, I honestly, well, I feel like I've really scaled back in my business over the last year. Basically, starting like July of last year, I would say I almost took like a sabbatical, and I feel really fortunate to be able to do that and just really go deep inside and figure stuff out. Because I realized like I got applauded for the business. Like I've kind of had two different businesses. I worked as a hairstylist for 20 years, and then I built like my helping other business owners business. And I always get applauded by like how well I've done, how I've succeeded, which like then fuels the fire of this trauma response of building a business. And I would say like the way I built my business is in a way to like my dad's told me he's proud of me so many times. So it's not that he has never told me that he's not. And I have a very like good dad, but there's like something in me that's still like trying to earn his favor. And like, look, then like I'll be the entrepreneur, I'll do the things, like it's all, and it's not this, I mean, we're all products of our childhood, like everything we
Mm.
do is nature or nurture. But realizing the like going hard, the workaholism, the finding my identity in what I do, the people pleasing, the lack of boundaries so that people will tell me how wonderful I am, and like not needing that anymore, I kind of lost my motivation. I was like, well, I don't need people to tell me how great I am because I finally believe and trust my worth finally.
Mm.
Like, but that was the motivation that kept me going. And so now I'm like, what am I doing it for? And I was like, oh my God, I was convinced that I was doing it for other people when really I was doing it for me and my insecurity. And so now I've really like taken time to sit and like, I got challenged by a new business mentor that I'm working with on Friday. And I was saying how like, am I rambling too much right now?
No, I
Okay.
love it. This is exactly what I've gone through. I feel like I'm like, yeah, no,
Okay,
please.
just wait. This is like the wildest thing because you know how like sometimes like someone just gives you like a slight perspective shift and you're like, okay. So we were kind of like going over my business. I'm like, I just can't. I'm like just not into it. My programs like help so many people, change so many lives, help so many people earn more money, and like I just don't care. And like I hate to say that, but like, and someone will tell me like they went from $30,000 to $100,000 this year, and I'm like pumped for them, but like it doesn't motivate me. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. And then I was telling her a little bit of backstory about my personal relationships. And I'm like, you know, was married and divorced in my 20s, got into like a really like abusive dating after that. Then I was in a relationship for 10 years that I got lied to and cheated on for the 10 years. And I'm finally like at this stage, like in a really healthy relationship. And it's so different and it's so wild. And like I'm operating different, I'm showing up differently, and I've had to trust. And she's like, it sounds like maybe you're operating in a really toxic business and you're having to learn and trust show up in your business differently
Oh,
now,
wow.
similar to your relationships. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
God.
oh, wow.
And like
Wow.
realizing like I was in a toxic relationship with myself and my business, and I was abusing myself, and I was
Holy
finding my
shit.
I was finding my worth in my business. And now as I shift, it's scary. It's foreign. It feels unknown. I don't know if like, is it going to work out? Is it not going to work out? I don't know. Like all the same shifts that I've gone through in my personal relationships, I'm going through with my business now too.
Oh my God. That is a real slap in the face moment for me now, because it's like the personal then has to match to the career, because how can it not when you've evolved so much with your relationship?
Wild,
Oh,
right? Like
shit.
that just happened on Friday, and I was like, and I had this. It's funny because I've been like thinking about working with this woman for a while, and I kept holding off because I've invested a lot in the past and not gotten things out of
Yeah,
other things that I've invested in. So I was like, I don't know, like I don't really need to know more stuff. Like
right.
I just like need support, I need accountability, and it kept coming back to her and kept coming back to her. And I bought a few of her stuff, a few of her things before, and then like an offer came up where I could get like, if I joined, you got like a 90-minute call with her. And I was like, yeah, I want one-on-one time. So I joined, and I just knew that when I got on this call with her, like there was something that I just like my intuition knew. And then we had to like reschedule our call like 3 times last week. And I was like, every day I was like, today's gonna be the day that like everything changes. And then finally Friday we were able to have our call. And like I just knew she was gonna give me some sort of insight that was gonna just like click finally. And I honestly haven't been able to like get up and get moving and I have like a freeze response when I get to the door of my office. I just like couldn't get in here. And I was scared because it's
Oh, wow.
like, yeah, it's
Absolutely.
scary. Like the healthy stuff is really scary. And it'll trigger, like, I'm just like thinking of like my relationship that I'm in. Like, it brings stuff up from your past that you have to go, how do I work through this in a way that I can be proud of this time? And the personal responsibility of like, it's not them needing to do something, it's not them needing to be a certain way, it's if I'm feeling frustrated, what haven't I communicated clearly?
I'm having a massive realization on this live. This is hilarious because, like, I've been thinking about certain clients that don't, like, that are
Mm-hmm.
literally pissing me off at every little possible thing, because I'm like, doesn't align with me anymore. This does not align. I do not care enough about any of this, like how I used to. So it's like, okay, with what you're saying now, I'm realizing that I'm going to have to shift some things and put more boundaries in place inside my business. Otherwise, like, it's not going to align anymore.
Yeah. And being okay with letting go of people that don't align. And it doesn't make them bad. It just means it's not the right thing for you. I've had to do that with friendships, which is really hard.
Yeah, I've definitely got tips for sure.
Yeah. So here's a heavy question for you. If you realize that you're not in alignment with a client in the middle of working with them, do you follow through on the contract or do you cut them free?
Oh.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. That's just my like.
Mm. The part of me that wants to have integrity and wants to be liked and needs to like still feel some kind of acceptance is like, I would still do it because I would always want like that part of me that my parents instilled in me, that work ethic of the customer's always right or the client's always right, would want to like fulfill that. But I think I would be so like in, am I betraying myself because I wasn't honoring the feelings that it was making me feel inside my body that I ignored for so long. So,
Yeah, like how do you, and so I was on a webinar today, and my therapist was on it as well, all about mental health in the beauty industry. And she had this thing that she said, where she said, when you set a boundary, you have to let go of how the other person receives it or responds, and if they're upset with it. And if you don't set a boundary with them, you could actually be stepping in the way of their own emotional growth because they might need to have boundaries set with them, and they might need to, if you kind of like tiptoe around other people's experience so not to cause a reaction in them because you're trying to keep yourself safe, you're not helping them learn and grow
Jesus.
because you're enabling, right? And it's just like, I'm not saying we have to like break up with clients in the middle of working with them or whatever, like yeah, that's like that integrity piece. But if continuing to work with someone is going to hinder them and you're only doing it to protect the discomfort, maybe that's the right decision.
Well, I've even found myself exactly what you said doing that inside this like recent relationship that I'm in, of like putting these boundaries and communicating what I won't do because I don't want to people please anymore. But I'm almost still like, oh, how did that land? Oh, like did that
Mhm.
affect you? Like did that feel a certain way? But it's like it doesn't matter because it's like I'm still uncomfortable expressing what I need, even though I'm doing it. That's the first step, but
Yeah.
still going like, oh, like, are they okay? Is he handle it? And it's yeah, wow, okay.
I love this conversation. The more you say no to things you aren't meant for you, the more you elevate. Yeah, totally. I posted a reel on, I think it might have been Friday, after having a conversation with my boyfriend now, because I was like, literally, it was like, if I bring something, the reel says, if I bring something up with you, just know I've overthought it, pre-planned it, and like pretty, but for like at least 2 days already. And then the caption like goes into how I like wanted to bring up a conversation, but for me, it was like scared of speaking up for myself, scared of like not even setting boundaries, but like stating what I need, stating needs, being needy. We all have needs. And I've learned to not need people. And that the like, it is a prized thing to be so independent, especially as a woman. And like, I'm very proud of that, to not need people, but then realizing like I have needs that need to be met in a relationship. And I was so uncomfortable, and I was like walking up the stairs, and I was like, nope, you're just gonna do it. And I was like, huh. And I realized that I'm having to heal triggers in me that is scared of someone getting upset, of rejecting, or getting so defensive and telling me that I'm wrong for even speaking my needs. And now I'm like being met with like understanding, compassion, and care. And I'm like, it's helping me, it's making it easier for every time I need to speak up for myself, to be like, oh, you're not reacting like how I thought you were going to. And it's hard because for me, my previous relationship was 10 years and it didn't trigger anything. And so I thought I had healed these things. But what I realized, it was just avoiding it. And so now being in like a healthy relationship, there's shit that's coming up from 15 years ago that I thought I had worked on, and it just hadn't been triggered.
I mean, it's not going to be triggered until you're actually in a relationship with someone. That's like the biggest thing that I've learned so far
Yeah.
is like, you can be on this healing journey and say that you're healed all you like, but until you actually mirror that person that is there to help you go through that healing,
Yeah.
like you can just
And
be healed all day long. So
yeah, my relationship that I was in before, he definitely like just enabled my emotions, never challenged them,
right.
and was cheating on me behind my back. So it was like in the front facing, it looked good, it looked healthy, he appeased me, but it's like, no, you need someone to be able to like have friction with.
100%. Oh my God, this is like,
We're
this is
going there.
so much for me right now. I mean, I'm not surprised because you and I are literally mirrors since we've met. Um, so, okay.
You said vulnerable, and I'm like, I'll show up.
Yeah, right. I can definitely rely on you for the vulnerability. Confidence.
Yeah, let's go there. I am more confident now than I've ever been in my entire life.
So tell me the most struggle that you've had to get to where you are right now with your confidence.
Can I keep on the relationship train, because I feel like that's like my whole life is
I mean,
like,
it's all interconnected. So go for it.
yeah, okay. So I mean, I turned 40, I'm turning 41 on Thursday. So I am like in my no fuck 40s, I call
Oh
them.
yeah.
And I don't know if it's age or life experience or like work on myself or maybe just all of them that's really helped me get to where I'm at. But I would say I was like never confident ever in my entire life. And I mean, you asked for like a headshot of me and I sent you like a old photo of myself.
I freaking love that photo, by the way. But anyway.
But I have all these pictures of me from even like 3 years ago, and you can see physically the transformation of confidence that I've gone through. And I would say it's not, I think Brené Brown defines confidence as courage and vulnerability combined. You have to be willing to get vulnerable and you have to be courageous in order to become confident. And I think I've just learned to practice taking courageous steps and being open and vulnerable when it scares the shit out of me. And I've been through an abusive marriage, an abusive relationship, and then I was in a relationship that I was cheated on for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about things that could definitely keep me not confident.
Right.
That could break me, that I could become bitter and frustrated about, that I could blame, that I could say, like, well, the cards just always get dealt, or how come I always attract these people? But I had to realize that I had a deep, I'm not saying I deserve to go through any of that or that I called it upon myself. That language really bothers me.
Mm.
But there was a part of me that believed I deserved it on some level because I struggled with self-worth and self-confidence and self-trust. And then each time one of those happened, it reinforced it. And being in psychologically abusive relationships and verbally abusive relationships, I was never laid a finger on, but I would say, like, I remember like praying that my ex would hit me because then I had proof, because nobody believes the psychological abuse. Nobody sees it. They're super charming on the outside. And the amount of therapy and reading and trusting and like learning to re-trust myself and my intuition when I mean, gaslighting wasn't like a catchphrase back in 2011 when I went through a divorce. And I remember my therapist then telling me about it and I had to like go home and Google it. But like I actually thought I was losing my mind.
Mm.
Like I thought I was like recollecting things improperly. And I started like secretly recording my arguments with my ex, being like, going to my therapist, like, am I losing it? Like, it was like not rational. And I lost all trust with my intuition, myself, any confidence. I remember my dad saying, like, we didn't even recognize you anymore. I wasn't allowed to go out. I was allowed to go to work in the grocery store and home. I wasn't allowed to have people over. I wasn't allowed to like bake cookies because I was told it'd be too much of a mess. Like, I just was like, and I shrunk and I got small and I made myself very unattractive because in that way it would keep me safe. And so how have I developed confidence? I think I just knew I was made for more and I trusted and believed in that one day maybe I could believe in my worth and believe that I could become what I wanted to and become the thing that I never thought I was allowed to become. And I wish I could say, like, I don't know, like my brother gave me this book when I graduated high school, the Places You Will Go, and it's by Dr. Seuss. And in the cover, he wrote, "Just remember me when you're rich and famous." And I like took that to heart. And I was like, I just kind of, for better or for worse, like use spite as a motivation. And I'm like, you told me I can't, I will. You told me I won't be anything without you, I will. Like, I hope all my exes creep my Instagram and see how great I'm doing. Like, I mean, and that's like, I don't want to be spiteful or like bitter or resentful, but like, if that's the thing that can motivate me to become the better version of me. And I hope the best for other people that whether it's been friendships that have gone sour or romantic relationships, I always think, like, I hope that they've learned and grown from every interaction and every experience they've gone through, because God knows I've tried to take every experience and better myself in some way from it.
Yeah. And so because you and I have been on that similar journey of like the confidence thing, and we've learned different ways to build that and implement strategies and protocols, whatever it is. What are you doing now? Because we've done a shit ton of work on ourselves, like since we've met. But what's working for you right now to maintain that level of confidence of no fucks 40?
Yeah, of being in my no fuck 40s. Well, I think it's like anything, if you don't work out a muscle, you lose the strength. And so continuing to exercise the muscle of being vulnerable and taking courageous action. And one thing I say to my students all the time is take messy, immediate, imperfect action. And meaning, I don't care what you know, I care what you do. Like, we can read all the books, we can do all the work, but until we implement it, and that's the other thing, like, people are addicted to learning and allergic to implementing. And it's so easy to be like, oh, like, you know what they should do, or you know what they're doing wrong with their life, or let me psychoanalyze, or let me diagnose, like, you, instead of stopping and being like, how can I implement what I know? How can I take messy action on where I'm at in my life? And how can I get myself uncomfortable for the sake of growth and confidence? And how can I, like, it doesn't, every new level of confidence you unlock a new level of vulnerability as well. And it's scary as fuck to get vulnerable, because then you risk being exposed and you risk rejection. And rejection for me is like the one thing I want to avoid at all costs. But then it's like, if you stay protected and you don't open up and you don't get vulnerable, then you just create your rejection.
1000%. Literally, I was told once by a coach, you're walking rejection waiting to happen. It's like, oh, isn't that a slap in the face?
Yeah. Well, I literally had like a moment this weekend where I started to like spiral, and I was like, what is the story I'm making up in my head about this situation? And what evidence do I have that this is what's happening right now? And I realized, like, another thing I've learned, it's like, how old do I feel, or what memory is coming up with this scenario? And it usually has nothing to do, if it has nothing to do with the person I'm interacting with at that moment, I'm like, oh, this is an old wound that's resurfacing in something else. And that's where I go, like, what's the story I'm making up? And is there evidence that this is what's happening right now? And is there any sort of past experience with this person? And if there isn't, I'm like, okay, this is old shit that's coming up that I'm projecting onto this right now.
Yeah.
And that helps really calm me, because a lot of times things will happen that I'm like, I feel 5 right now. Like, oh, this is about my dad not playing baseball with me or something, you know? Or like, I'm feeling ignored, or I'm not feeling considered, or I'm feeling left out. Or, oh, this is like, reminds me of a time that like this happened with this other person, and this has nothing to do with them right now. And it actually, I find, brings more trust and closeness with the people that you're working through, whether it be friends, family, relationships, clients, when you can go, you know what, I'm realizing I learned this about myself. And instead of being like, you need to change, or you need to do this, or you're making me feel this way, going, oh, this scenario is reminding me of this, and it's producing this feeling in me, and I just need you to know. And if someone respects you, they'll listen, and they'll either, I mean, I would say if someone respects you, they're going to understand and want to help reassure you, and possibly change behavior or communicate with you more openly to help ease that. But you can't change other people. I think that's the thing. And so the confidence piece you can't look for confidence externally. You have to do it internally. And that means you need to know your inherent self-worth, and you need to trust yourself, and you need to be willing to walk away from the places, people and things that don't see your worth. And that's the hardest part, because I used to be in the habit of trying to convince people of my worth instead of just, okay, you don't see it, that's cool, walk away.
And it's almost like the family dynamic where we're first born into is like where you're trying to get that belonging and approval. Right? So I recognize exactly what you just said, because like growing up with boys, brothers, I always was in that defense mode, because, you know, like that environment was I was the only girl. So it was like you can't always try subconsciously to get that acceptance approval all the way from family. And so I feel you. I'm literally at the point now where, like, I've had to let go. I've had to let go of any validation that, or even the way people would respond to how I would say certain things to be liked. Like, all of that is some form of manipulation to be accepted and liked.
Yeah, people pleasing is manipulation, because it's not about pleasing the other person, it's about controlling their response to you.
Yes.
I just had like a couple things that, like, as you said that, so there's this home video my parents have on VHS still at their house, and it's me and my brother and my grandma playing Monopoly or something, and my dad's filming, and I'm like, Dad, 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 and I'm like, hey, see me, and then my brother goes, stop being such an R word, Don, and because I don't want to say the word, but you know what and I just like crumble, and I'm just so desperately trying to be seen, and I'm like funny that I'm on social media, that I speak on stages, like not to say like not to like psychoanalyze myself, but like there is this need to be seen and validated
100%.
deep within me, and like I use it for the good now. But also both of us growing up with boys and wanting to like be in the more masculine energy, let's say, or like be seen and accepted by the masculine, we both picked quite feminine industries to go into.
I know. Isn't that hilarious? It was like it was a contradiction.
Well, it's probably because we're like craving being that little girl still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we literally, yeah, it's like that fantasy world. That's why I went into it, because it was almost like I could hide behind something.
Yeah. It's like I can be feminine, I can be soft, but I'm still going to be like a boss.
Yeah.
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 What
And
is confidence? What are you working on for your confidence right now?
what am I working on? Right now, my biggest thing is um, being, being, I don't want to say in my feminine energy, but literally like falling back instead of doing and
Mhm.
hustling, chasing, and noticing that men are very different, because I'm not in proving mode of I've done this, and this. I don't want to list off my achievements anymore, because I'm like, I don't care. I'm not trying to get people or try and be in proving mode to be loved or liked, right? So
Mhm.
I'm able to observe differently while dating, as an example, as opposed to filling the void with words and conversation where I was like trying to like get that approval before. Now I'm like sitting back, doing less and being, I'm like, huh, I don't feel so exhausted.
Yeah, you don't have to prove it. Your audio is, I don't know if it's, maybe if people can watch, it's cutting out for me. I don't know if it's cutting out for anybody else. Just a little bit. I can kind of follow what you're saying.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
yeah, just a little bit. Or maybe your microphone's against something.
I
Someone in
mean,
the,
my always an issue with my phone, so it's
oh,
probably, yeah.
it's not bad. I can follow. But yeah, in that like receiving state. So this is
Yeah.
a, I don't, these are two things that have happened. I don't know if this is like being confident or being in like my more like soft receiving state. But we were out a couple weekends ago at this like big event with like tons of people, which I like. I like take on people's energy, so I like don't generally like to be in large crowds. But there was like I could just like there was like creepy man. Like I'm a creepy man magnet. But like this one guy like came and and maybe it was like the confidence I was carrying myself with is like more attractive too. But like at one point, a guy was like, put his hand in my face like that, and he's like, "You're fucking gorgeous," and it just like felt so like I don't. It's so violating, even just
Yeah.
verbally. But then also the cool thing on the flip side, on the positive side of like the unwanted attention. But then in the last 9 days, I've had three strangers come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, are you Don Bradley? I follow you on Instagram. Like, I'm kind of fangirling right now. I'm not a hairstylist. One was a hairstylist, but like two weren't. And they're like, you've like helped me so much with the way you've shared about your life and your relationships." And I'm like, if that's not a sign from the universe. Hey, Summer. Right? Like it's just
So much.
wild.
Hello.
But like learning to be in that state, like there's the good and the bad that come with
Yeah.
it. But like I'm like it's like wild to me when I love when people come up to me and introduce themselves, but like also like me, I'm just me. Like I feel like I don't do anything special, but I do feel like I like what I'm learning and like learning to trust and believe and step into is that I give people permission to be themselves.
Yeah, and I mean they're resonating with the rawness of you. Like you're not putting on a mask anymore. You're kind of just being. That's what I've
Mhm.
realized. Being is like so much more in my life. Whether it's new clients, different types of men, definitely different types of men. Oh my god, like they want to be more caring. They want to be more nurturing, as opposed to like just the emotionally unavailable um familiarity that I've always attracted. So
Yeah.
there's that's definitely given me more confidence in I don't have to do anything anymore, but just be myself.
That's like, so that business coach that I started working with, she's like, so if your pattern's been to try to save and change your past relationships, how are you trying to save and change your clients and your students? And how can you, like, if now you're in a healthy relationship and you're accepting someone for where they're at and you're letting them grow on their own,
Mm.
how can you accept your students and your clients? And I know I have students that are watching right now. So, but like realizing, oh, like I wanted to do the work for people, because then I can like, then it makes me feel good, and realizing like you can't change someone else. You can't save someone else. You can't make someone else have the realization. They have to do that on their own. And if they're not willing and they're not growing with you, that's okay. That's just where you split ways. And realizing like the way I show up healthier in my business now isn't trying to save people, is to try to show them and guide them and help them. And if they're willing to do the work themselves, they'll continue on. And then being okay if people aren't willing to do the work, let them go.
Holy shit.
And I know, I think Renee, I'm trying to see who's in here. Renee is one kick-ass person. Shiloh, I see who's in here. Like, those are my peeps. They both came to my house for my retreats and like did the big work. But then like also realizing like when I get like a nasty comment or a nasty DM or someone telling me that my program's shit, it's like I have to be like, they're just not the right person for me. And I go into like vigilante mode where I'll try to change people's minds. I'm like, no, you misunderstood me. Because like a big wound for me is I don't like feeling misunderstood.
Me too. Oh
And
my
so I'll try to convince someone. And that's what I used to do with men too, like convince them of my worth. And it's like, if someone doesn't see my worth, that's okay. They don't see it. Doesn't change that I'm not worthy. And I will go spend time with people who do see it. And so same thing, same. Like I'm entering into a healthier relationship with my business now.
Yeah, as you said that, like literally, I'm literally having a healthy relationship with myself, with my inner little Ivana, the inner child.
Yeah.
But like this part of me that just craving to be loved and to be seen. It's like, I've got you. I'm like, I'm going to soothe you. I'm going to nurture you. Yeah, it's just completely shifted my whole reality, really.
So who is Ivanna?
She is super sensitive, very feminine, um, very suck, very always making jokes. She is someone that is just wanting to have genuine, real connection, love. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm getting to know her. I've had, I would say a mask, a defensive mask. I'll keep my arms distance, energy, and it's like how were people supposed to actually get close to me when I was like that? You know, so
Well, it's funny because if we don't have to go here,
mm,
but I feel like we both experienced both our wounds clashing at the same time, where it's like boundary up, because we had an experience where you felt like it was unsafe,
mm,
and I was like, I don't fucking chase people.
yeah, yes, yes,
And
no,
like a wedge between us, for like an invisible wedge between us for a few months.
yes, yes, and that pattern there is what I experienced with so many relationships in the
Same.
past. Not even romantic friendships.
Always friendships.
Literally all the way back to high school. Yes, not feeling safe, and that is my thing, not feeling safe.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Same.
no, it's
I
good to
like.
put it out because that's probably one of the biggest learnings that I've had in container of um, this relationship with myself and other people is the not feeling safe because I didn't stay with my parents growing up in certain situations.
Yeah. And for me, it's like not like nobody hears me when I say anything anyway. So why would I say anything? You're not going to hear it. You're not going to listen.
Yes,
You're not going to understand it. So, and like, I just like shut down. And I also like, this didn't happen with you, but in the past, like I'm very gracious, but I used to keep track, and it'd be like, okay, I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. And then one thing will happen, and I just like would cut people off hard. And I'm like,
I do that. No, I do. You're dead to me.
yeah. And it's a self-defense protection mechanism from being hurt. And
Yeah.
it usually comes with, if this is, I'm just realizing this now, if I get blamed for something. And I've taken the blame a lot for stuff that's not been my responsibility in my perspective. And so as soon as someone blames me for an experience, I'm like, out, by no, not taking it, not owning it, shut down, protect. I will not be the enemy. I will not be the villain. Bye. And that's been a pattern in friendships, which female friendships has been an extreme struggle for me majority of my life. And now that, I mean, I'm still 40 for 2 more days. Now that I'm in my 40s, realizing how to have healthy female friendships and how to set boundaries and learning to put like just simple bound. I mean, Jess just joined, and that was a friend that was at my house where I was like, I will get her to leave so we can go live. And then I was like, hey, you've got 5 minutes. But like in the past, I would have been like, my friend's here. I don't know when they're leaving. Like I'll let you know, and I wouldn't say anything. And like that's not even like having to put a boundary up, but that's just like learning how to communicate. And I never used to feel like I had a voice, or that if I did, it was never considered.
Yeah.
Consideration is like a huge thing for me.
Shut down. It was like, yeah, shunned or shut down or suppressed. Yeah, I experienced the same thing. That's why self-expression is like my number one value.
Yeah. And then when you like do find people that value you, it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah, you second guess and self-doubt and try and catch them out.
Yeah, and it's like, what's your move? What's your angle? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to get from me? How are you trying to manipulate me right now? I know, and then I like try to outsmart them. I'm like, I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Literally. I get it. Two can play this game.
No, it's so that's heavy self-awareness. That is a lot of self-awareness of realizing those patterns. Like, yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but like, I used to get
your confidence since I first met you in January has like transformed.
Oh yeah, because like I wasn't even willing to admit to myself last January where I was in my life. I was living a complete lie, outwardly, inwardly, and behind, and like within the four walls of my home. And me and my ex were like very honest about where we were, but we were not honest with the world around us. Nobody knew what was going on, and we had already been separated, living separate for a year, and people didn't know.
Yeah, wow. I remember when you first told me that when we got to Tulum, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. And then I came home from Tulum and was like, this needs to be done.
No.
I would say it's like the world's longest breakup. And it's funny because like it's so easy. I remember being like, who doesn't, when someone finds out someone's cheated on them, like cut them off immediately. Like life has such a funny way. I was like, I'll never get divorced. Like, and like been through all of it. I've been cheated on. I've cheated. I've been married and divorced, and all the things that I'd be like, can't let, like, as if I would never do that, or like judge it. I've experienced, and you have a totally different perspective when like time invested with someone, and like when someone cheats on you, but you like love them and care for them, and they're your best friend, and like it's just a whole mind fuck. And you're like, you're the one person who like calms me and soothes me and like helps me on my hardest days, and yet you're the one that's creating the hardest days for me. But you're the one I want to protect me, and like that really unhealthy attachment and codependency. That's what it was. Which I had convinced myself was love and was connection, and it was all codependence.
Yeah, that codependence is what I'm feeling as well. I got a question for you. So young girls that have not had the no social media, then the now social media, and they're like basically growing in this social media world, which is complete and utter fake and not real. The comparison thing and the feel, like, how are they supposed to, what's your advice on how they're supposed to find their authentic voice or their foundation in themselves when there's so much noise around them with this social media bullshit that we're in?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like social media, I mean, I'm not on TikTok a lot, but I feel like there's a lot more authenticity now on social media than there ever was. Like 2016 Instagram with the like Starbucks cup and the peace sign and like the perfectly curated feed. I think I still struggle sometimes where I'm like, I'll like post stuff and take messy, immediate, imperfect action. And then I'll look at my feed and be like, it's not pretty. And like, I'll want to pretty it up. But I think like you can find the pockets of authenticity on social media. And so, I mean, it's it's easy from the perspective of a 40-year-old talking to a 16-year-old, like, don't care about what they think, but you do care what they
Yeah.
think. In high school, like, your world is very small in high school, or even just shortly after high school.
Mm.
And so I would say look for those communities online that feel authentic to you. And that might shift and change over your life. It doesn't mean picking one lane and staying there forever. Like I mean, I don't know if Ben's still on here, but like Ben knew me in a different lifetime. There's like people that like see me on social media that I'm like, oh my God, like what do they think of like this version of me? And I once, someone called me fake when I was being 100% myself. And I remember being like, oh, that hurt. But the version of me that they knew was different.
Mm.
And like, one, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but that's the ADHD way. It's like the whole purpose of life is to grow and evolve. So when people are like, you've changed, it's like, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Like I've changed. I am not the same person I was a year ago. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. And I've had some pretty big life experiences that have totally shattered my worldview,
Mm.
shattered what I thought the world was. And I've had to rebuild it, and it's gotten stronger. And it's not that I know, have more answers. It's I have more questions, and I'm willing to sit in the unknown of having no answers. And that like world isn't black and white, it's gray. And so how do you be authentic, or how do you not compare? I mean, you're gonna
Mm.
struggle to be your authentic self because you're not gonna know who you are for a long time,
Facts.
right? Like I didn't know who I was, or like I didn't think I was allowed to be me because I had been told it's too much. I remember like a conversation with a family member being like, you probably shouldn't share that story with anybody. Like that you're oversharing too much. And like being diagnosed with ADHD and understanding like that's just part of my charm. I'm gonna tell everybody everything.
Yeah.
And always feeling like I had to quiet myself or
Mm.
shift or change or tidy up, or I usually have like stains all over my sweaters. I mean, I'm like a hot mess. I get paid to be in my pajamas. Like that's just who I am. I like to get dressed up too, and like learning I can be a paradox. And
Mm.
so find the communities and the people that celebrate you in your weirdness, in your nerdiness, in your goofiness, and in your professionalness, and in your put together. Like you can be all the things, and you can have multiple facets, and you can have multiple connections. But I would say like seek it out and don't just stay in the bubble of you know what you only have known so far.
Mm.
Seek out people that challenge you, and be willing to disagree with people but be respectful, because if you only seek out people who agree with you, you can stay really small.
Oh my God, I think that is the best advice, because one thing about you, you always challenge. No, it's good, because exactly that. Like you want to keep this circle and bubble of people that make you feel comfortable, and it's like you have the most amazing people around, but it's like they call you. Do they want a better version of you? Like, do they know when you're like not aligning with your authenticity? You know what I mean? So it's
Mm-hmm.
there's been conversations where I'm like, "Fuck, Dawn, don't."
What have I called you out on? I'm super curious. I can't remember.
Oh man, like lots of stuff, like relationships, or like just I mean like everything. I'm trying to think exactly, but probably with like how I was showing up to something maybe, or like not challenging myself, or maybe putting myself in a comfort zone. I don't know. I can't remember exactly
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. Well, and we were roomies at two different retreats, and like I think we both like this is the feminine wound in friendship that we are reprogramming for each other, and we're
Mm.
not running away from, and we've had rupture and repair, which they say is like when you can have rupture and repair in any sort of relationship, whether it be friendship, family, or a romantic relationship, it actually can create stronger bonds because you're being honest with each other. And
Well,
like
yeah. I mean, the old me would be like, okay, see you later, another friendship, another one bites the dust. See ya, like
yeah.
whatever.
And it's easy to like make new friendships and like have them fall in love. It's like love bombing, right? But I would do that in friendships, and then the rose-colored glasses would come off, and it'd be like, okay, bye, peace out.
It's the same as a relationship. It's like kind of the ball's not there anymore.
Yeah. Instead of getting uncomfortable and getting vulnerable yourself and being like, and I think that's the thing. It's like vulnerability we see as like weakness and exposure, but vulnerability sometimes is like, hey, I'm feeling really frustrated and not heard right now.
I think to have the courage to say that instead of friendship is, I think, sometimes more challenging than to do it in a romantic relationship.
Yeah, because I think, well, like in romantic relationships, you have like defining moments where it's like we are in a relationship or we are no longer in a relationship. Where with friendships, you're not like, so we're like lifelong friends now? Do we have a commitment? And like, there's no like friendship breakup talk.
Yeah.
And so it's more difficult and like it's kind of murky. But what I love is like when you have a connection with someone who's like a sister,
Mm,
which I mean, I don't have sisters,
mm,
so I've always like craved a sister, what I figured a sister like connection would be, but like also way too high of
mm,
expectations
mm.
on the other person and then like no expectations on me. Like no accountability. Like you need to be what I need, but like I'm not gonna be what you need. God damn it, don't be
Oh
so
my
needy.
God, that hits hard. I feel exactly the same. I don't have sisters. I mean, cousins and whatever, but yeah, I resonate with
It
that.
was so
Exactly.
selfish. It was like
Yeah.
I need you to be what I need, but don't you dare put parameters on me and what I should
Literally.
do. Right? And like total double standard and like not aware of it at the time.
Shit.
But now like I realize the people that I know are going to be like in my life forever are the people that we cannot talk for 3 months and then just be like, hey, how's it going? And it's not like, oh, haven't heard from you in 3 months. Like, because like life happens. Thank you, Renee. Please be my big sister.
Oh.
Um, and like we just pick up where we left off and like we've not spent that much, I mean, other than like condensed time together at like 4-day retreats, we've only met each other twice in real life.
But then when you will FaceTime me, then it's just like we go straight. Like I think that's like so raw and deep, confront.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to. So like, how you been? What's been happening? What like? It's like call me and tell me that you triggered a crap because your boyfriend did X, Y, Z through it.
You're cutting out and I can't hear you.
Oh no, damn.
I was just gonna say, or, and this is totally outing myself, I have FaceTimed Ivanna naked. That's how close we are. We are close like sisters.
And with her boyfriend.
Okay, I was like, don't put that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
I can
What I
hear
was
you.
saying was like, yeah, basically called me out of the blue, and it's like I'm as fuck right now. Like basically help me move through this.
You're stuck? Is that the word you said? It cut out again.
Like if you're triggered about, and it's like we're basically talking about the thing that's triggered us, as opposed to surface level conversation.
Yeah, instead of like blame, we're like, how do I personally move through this thing myself?
Mm.
Yeah. You should clean out your microphone at the end of this. Maybe
I need
that's it.
to, like, yeah.
New phone. Oh
But
yeah.
anyway, let's hope that I entire conversation.
We'll just have to have another conversation. I'll have you on the podcast.
Yeah, let's do that. But
This has
my
been so fun.
I know I need to make an oven for dinner.
You need to put something in the oven for dinner.
Need to get the chicken out of the oven.
Is it cooking right
Yeah,
now?
I was like, I'm gonna let it cook while I'm doing a face. While doing,
Is it burnt?
I don't think so. It doesn't smell burnt.
You're Italian. You know how to cook.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all good.
Well, oh yeah. I was like, where can people find you? I'm like, oh, this isn't my life.
um, well, they can find me actually not on this particular platform, but on my Ivanna Fontana Instagram.
Isn't
However,
that the best name, especially with the accent? Ivanna Fontana.
Ivanna Fontana. However, I'm going to create a reel from this because I feel like there's some really valuable insight, and I'm going to add your there for everyone to follow because your post is valuable, especially for people in the industry.
Thank you. Oh, and Shiloh says this has been an awesome listen as I grocery shop. Thank you. Thanks for listening, Shiloh.
Thank you for listening.
Well, Ivana and I think we won because you're like a friend for life. We should definitely do more together because I think the confidence piece is really important, and I love that we're both like, you know, in the beauty industry. I don't know. Would you consider yourself beauty industry as a fashion stylist? I kind of feel like that's
Fashion, beauty industry. Yeah. I feel like there's more of like a healing aspect to what I do now in terms of everything that I've worked with myself. So it's
in like the service of people. industry.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
transformation is what it is for me with any client that I work with. It doesn't matter if they're a celebrity or normal everyday client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks for having me on Insight with Ivanna.
Thank you for joining my third episode.
Oh, is it only the third one? But you've done a bunch of these just on your other page.
This is just like the formal kind of, platform.
Love it. Well, everyone give her a follow if you haven't already. Just put that little, I think you can just take that little arrow up there and follow you if they don't already.
True. I mean, yeah, and my platform is a completely different, but whatever. It's all
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cutting out's getting worse, so if I don't respond appropriately, it's because I have no idea what you
I'm so sorry.
Maybe it's just you have to be higher volume, because that I heard clear.
I think it is I think it is a number of things right now. I think it's my connection and I think it's my phone.
Yeah.
Time for an up.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, I'm an old lady that goes to bed early and it's 8:30 here. So thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
Keep doing your thing.
You too.
Okay. Bye. Bye.